Okay, Rabbi Isai. First we begin with questions, okay? If you've got questions, we'll take the questions. Otherwise, we'll do what's on the schedule. So, questions from the Ilan. Questions that are, something interesting. I mean, yeah.
I think it's especially relevant for teenagers. What's the best way to get up, like excited for the day, like to get up and be like, I'm up.
How do we get excited for the day? If you get me the answer to that one, I think we'll all be very excited for that one. Okay, it's a good one. How do we? Do you mean how to get up in the morning, or how do you just? I think everybody struggles, but I get that. It's definitely a teenage problem as well. Yeah, well, we'll put it on the agenda. Yeah, what are you saying? Someone ask another question?
Can you give us time?
Yeah, you can have time to think. Yeah, we've got the time it takes for the other guy's question. Hold on, I have to take notes here first. We have to remember the questions here. So the first question was, we've got to get up in the morning. Okay, good question. Yeah, okay. Yeah, next.
There's such thing as a concept as Hashem knows, and so you won't, when it comes to issues of between man and woman and teenage years, that Hashem knows that because it's such a hard time they're going through that, it's more
he's more makel.
Yeah.
Okay. If Hashem knows about, okay, so he's more makel. Good, that's next. Okay, fine. Hold on, just taking a note here. Next, okay, who's next? What was your one? You had a question? Someone? No. Anyone else? Okay. You can ask mid-shir as well, it's also fine. Mid-shir you can ask questions. Huh? Chol. Learning secular subjects. Yeah, okay, yeah, next, yeah.
How can you get a 9-to-5 job when you're meant to learn Torah?
That's a good question. How can you get a 9-to-5 job if you're supposed to be learning Torah all day? Okay, we're mamish, we're spreading the stuff here. Okay, yeah.
Why did Hashem need the korbanos when the base of Mikdash?
Okay, that's good. That's a good question. Okay, next. Yeah.
The parameters of Hashem.
Hurrah. Getting touchy now. Okay, that's good. These are good questions. Yeah.
Why are korbanos a kapora? Like, if I give a korban? Like, what does it make me do? Like, why am I going to stop doing it?
Korbanos part 2. How's it a kapara? Okay, how's it a kapara? Next, yeah, this is great.
I think the Ramban, the whole time said you have to learn 8 hours a day, minimum. So we're not doing that. So
Why not?
so we must not be doing something like that.
Okay. Ein apachopas larayis. Okay, we're mamish going for here. All right. How does it? Uxin. Okay, Uxin does fit into that, by the way. Was that on purpose? Is that a joke? Because it's actually connected. Okay, yeah. Next.
You have to respect that reform, liberal, US.
Wow, this is great. We are all over the place here. Yeah, one answer. One answer.
You have to get vaccinated.
Ready vaccinated.
Okay. All right. Okay, so let's see if we can do this bit by bit. Okay, Meiri Rebbe of Moshe Puras Zatzal used to take questions from everybody. We used to have around the table, and he was able to take questions and give one answer that was like an answer that encapsulated everyone. Yeah, I saw this many times. It was brilliant. It was absolutely phenomenal. Random questions from the Ilan, and he would give like one Yisoid, and he would say, now with this Yisoid, you can answer this, and this, and this. So I can't do that, but I'll just tell you that he could. And that was always amazing to see. Because he used to explain, Torah is Eitz Chaim Hil Machazikim Bo. It's rooted in one place, and if you go further up, you find where it's all rooted together. Follow that route, and you come back down, and everything's explained. So we'll do it bit by bit. But I bet in the course of our little travels, we're going to find a Yesod that will also answer most of the questions. That's what I bet in our little journey, B'schus the Rabbim. Okay, so let's try it. The first things first. Go Keseda. How do we get up in the morning? I have no idea. I'm still struggling with this, and I'm a little bit older than you guys. If you're talking about getting up in the morning, mamash, literally getting out of bed, the answer is don't give any svaras. And the truth is a bit of a yesod always in the battle in life with the Yetzer Hara. You've got to know your opponent. Your opponent, the Yetzer Hara, is very wise. In fact, whenever people say, I've got a dumb head, I can't think, I can't learn, I'm useless, I've got no ability to learn or understand, suddenly ask the guy about, when he comes late and he's got like 1,000 excuses, he can tell you this, like, mamash, all the lumdas comes out. In the Yetzer Hara's world, you're the biggest lumdan, right? The reason why I can do this Aveira is because this, and this. Suddenly we become like mamash, the smartest people out there, cleverest, genius, because the Yetzer Hara is you, and you are actually wise, just it depends where you want to invest your wisdom. If you really wanted something, you'd invest your wisdom in it. The Yetzer Hara is very powerful. So you've got to know he's got all the svaras, and he will beat you on the svara account. Logic, he'll win with logic, and I'll explain to you in two ways. Because logically, once you start having the argument with the Yetzer Hara, the reason why he's going to win is because his voice is much louder. Right? Why? What's he got on his side? Not just logic. He doesn't come with you from logic. See, if you start speaking logic, then Yetzer Hara is he's not inside of you. If he will be outside of you, he's over here, and you're now going to imagine it. You say, okay, should I get up in the morning? Okay, the Maisa, I want to get up for davening. I want to daven properly. If I'm there on time and early, I can daven like a mensch. I can daven properly. I can think about what I'm saying. I can get ready. Everything, do it properly rather than slapdash, So, Misvara, it's not a very difficult one to win, right? What's so hard? In logic, get up, because you can daven properly and get off your day to the right start. Or you can, what happens when the pillow, wins, and then all of a sudden you like drag yourself out. Before you know it, the whole day's davening was like, and so there's no logic. He doesn't use logic. All he says is one thing. Yeah, but I love my pillow. That's what he says, right? And he doesn't even use, so your logic in your brain says, I've got to get up, chakras, chakras, got to daven, I've got to get up. And he doesn't even need to say anything. He just says, feel that lovely, comfortable pillow. You're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. That's not logical. That's emotion, which is exactly the tool of the Yetzer Hara. What he does is, he doesn't play you at the logic game. Because even in svaras, he comes up with all the krumas svaras, and we know they're a joke. So it doesn't make sense. Yeah, but if I sleep now another 5 minutes, everyone knows he's arguing. If I sleep another 5 minutes, then I'll really have the energy to go and, achieve today. Which makes no sense. Well, firstly, if you haven't enough sleep, doing 5 minutes more is not going to make a difference. If you've had lots of sleep, 5 minutes more is certainly not going to do any difference. So 5 minutes is not going to make any difference, right? But he says, no, just another 5 minutes. He always gives you, in fact, this is the biggest joke of the Yetzer Hara. He mocks us. We know this so well. He mocks us with his logic. He makes fun of us. And another 5 minutes, you'll just be fine. Right? Huh? Exactly. Everybody knows that. We all know what 5 minutes mean. You press snooze, you lose. Snooze means, doesn't mean like 5 minutes, it means half an hour is not shaykh. You're not going to get up. We all know that. And if I stop you at that point and say, what did you mean by 5 minutes? Do you mean literally 5 minutes and get up? No. That meant, I'm going to drag you down. And very simple. So that in the world of logic, he's literally making fun of you. He's saying, your logic, you yourself will say that at this point, if I talk about logic, you're ridiculing yourself. That's not where he comes from. He comes from the fact the pillow is geschmack. And there's no question about it. The pillow is great. Pillow, 1,000, me, 3. That's about like the score chart at the moment. That's where we're up to. And it always is like that way, because it feels much better. He comes with feelings. Now when people say, I'll take a question in a minute. When people say, I'm not an emotional person, right? Some people are more emotional, others are less emotional, but certain people get emotional about and something's going to get you emotional. Right? The guy who's purely brain logical, right? Mr. I never get emotional. Suddenly he gets cut up in the car. He's driving, some guy zips in front of him. Whoa! Oh, now he becomes emotional. What's wrong with you? I thought you Mr. Brain. Why are you getting so worked up? Because things We do have emotions. Just what do you get worked up about? What do you get worked up about? If the guy cuts in front of me, then I get worked up. Oh, that's a reason to get worked up. It's not a reason, it's not logical. It's not logical. Calm down, well, who cares? He guy just came in your lane. Okay, big deal. No. My whole essence is now in my car. He went into my lane, which is me. I'm the king of the world. He just threw me off my throne. It's all emotions. So the Yetzirah comes with emotion. He says, pillow is king. And that's why he doesn't need to say anything else. He doesn't need to give any arguments. He just makes you feel that pillow and says, this is too good to get up, I can't get up. So if you're working, and this I heard from Yitzchak Berkovitz, he said, if you try and beat Yetzirah with logic, not only will he win, but he'll make fun of you in your logic. As we just said, what's his tool? His tool is emotion. It's much more enjoyable to be in bed. There's nobody that can argue against that. Of course it's more enjoyable to be in bed. Not just for you guys, for anybody. It's more enjoyable to be in bed than to get up in the morning. There's no question about it. So how do you win? How do you win against Yetzirah? Because you know why? Emotion is stronger than logic. It is. It is. How do I prove it? No? Prove to me how emotions are stronger than logic. Well, we're given one proof, getting up in the morning. But the truth is anything like that. No? Anything. People will smoke. Well, it's illogical to smoke. Why would you do that? Well, what's the point? Why would a guy smoke? Risk his life. Yeah, but you might not die because there's old Uncle Harry, who's 95. He smoked 7 packs every day and he's still going. Yeah, the one guy. And then I'll show you all the other Uncle Harrys who are dead at a younger age because they smoked. Yeah, but not me. But in logic, it's not relevant. It's not a logical thing. It's enjoyable. It's enjoyable. And that's the way to actually, that's what the Yetzirah does. He doesn't say, you know what, he does a little bit. He says, yeah, you'll be the one guy that won't die because, he's not saying that. He's saying it's enjoyable. That's what he's saying. So your emotions, your feelings are stronger than your brain. So how do you fight that? How do you fight that? So he said it like this. I love the way he said it. He said, and this is what Musa used to be back in the day. He said, you have to get emotional about MS. This is how he said it. You have to literally sit there thinking, and you have to spend time. You have to say, you know what? Imagine you were now at Tzaddik, and there was a video camera on you as the alarm went off in the morning, and they're all watching you out there. Let's see how the Tzaddik gets up in the morning. You'll be like, yeah. You've got to get emotional about doing the right thing. Oh, I want to do avodas Hashem. The reason why, if you get emotional about it, then what you're doing is you're fighting his emotions with your emotions, right? So in other words, he even used to say, think about MS, think about doing the right thing, and get worked up about it. In other words, say, wow, I really want to try and do this. Now, then in the morning, when the alarm clock goes off, then you try and use that koyach. Believe me, the pillow is much stronger. So what do you do in the morning? What's the secret? The answer is simple. Like all the times of the Yetzirah, do not, just like he operates with do not think. That's how he operates. Don't think logically, don't use your brain, go with what you're feeling. The answer to the Yetzirah is, don't think either. Don't start giving logic as to whether I should get up in the morning or I shouldn't get up in the morning. You just got to get up. That is the secret. You've just got to get up. There's no logic. Don't think logic. As soon as you start giving logic, you're done, you're finished. Get up. That's the answer. In other words, you can't, he's going to smash you to pieces when it comes to any of your logic, and not just because of your logic, because it's not happening in the world of logic, right? It's not outside of you that you can decide, should I get up or should I not get up? It's not happening there, it's happening right here, or right here. That's where it's happening. Okay, so that's number one. You have to know the tool of Yetzirah is, he's playing emotions. Number one, you've got to get emotional about MS, think about why I want to do the truth. And number two, when it comes to the crunch, when you are lying in bed, don't give logic, just get up. And so it is with everything else as well. Don't tell me, yeah, but if I just do this, I'll be okay. Don't do that. Forget the logic, just do the right thing. That's how it works. Yeah, question.
No, it's more of a halakhic question.
Yeah.
By pressing the either turn off the alarm clock or to snooze. Are you allowed to do that if you haven't watched neither of us?
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah, you're not gonna. Yeah, you're not gonna eat it. It's okay. It's only a problem with touching things that you're gonna eat and things like that. So if there's like chocolate on top, then that should not. Okay, so that's one. But it's an important question. As you see, we're going to lead from one thing to the next. These are all your questions. Let's see. Because Baruch is going to guide us. Okay, so the next thing. Kadosh Baruch Hu knows about our struggles. Do we get some sort of like leniency? Okay, so we've discussed this before, we've mentioned it's a very good point. Of course there is. Of course. Up to 20, up to 20 there is a leniency. Up to 20, that means to say that you should know you're not fully culpable b'dei Shemayim until you're 20. But don't let that bring you down. Says the Vilna Gaon on Megillas Esther. You can look it up. He says the Vilna Gaon has a perish al pi pshat, he has a perish al pi remez, and he has a perish al pi soid. And in al pi remez, he writes this. He says that Esther ruled over how many? 127, right? But what does it say? 7 and 20 and 100. Sheva, Besim, Umeya, Medina. So, what does it mean? It says the Vilna Gaon, Achashverosh, that's amazing, classic Vilna Gaon. It says Achashverosh is not just a character in the Purim story. He is, obviously, but he means much more than that. You know what Achashverosh is? Al Pi Remez, and he goes to the whole Megillah like this. Achashverosh Al Pi Remez is the Yetzer Hara. Follow the story of Achashverosh, he's the Yetzer Hara. And one of the things he says is, Achashverosh ruled over 7 and 20 and 100. What is that? He says, well, up to 7, the Yetzer Hara has totally got you completely. Because it's only until 7, a person only starts learning Torah properly at age 7. So up to 7, remember the only way to fight the Yetzer Hara is with Torah. Baras Yetzer Hara, Baras Torah Tablins. Up to 7, you're certainly in the hands of the Yetzer Hara. Okay? From 7 till 20, and this one I'm bringing it up, yeah, Sheva, Ve'esrim, 20, the Yetzer Hara says, don't worry, because you've got till 20. Which is true to a certain point, right? You do have till 20 in a certain leniency, but don't let the Yetzer Hara say, well, you heard what he said, right? You got till 20, so go out and do your stuff now, because afterwards you're going to get grilled. So don't listen to Yetzer Hara. 7, and then he says you got till 20, right? You got till 20 because you're not about unchim b'dei Shemayim. And then after that, for the next 100 years, because that's how he learns it, till 120, he says, well, now that you've sinned up to 20, you might as well just do whatever you like for the next 100 years, right? So that's the Yetzer Hara's ploy. Don't listen to the Yetzer Hara. 7, 20, 100. That's what he says. So on the one hand, don't listen to it as a ploy. It's not like some sort of leniency that the Yetzer Hara is going to say it's okay. On the other hand, why is it that this idea you're not chayav b'dei Shemayim? And that's because any project you're going to build in this world, anything significant, is always going to come with ups and downs, right? And somebody who is a teenager is particularly vulnerable to the ups and downs. And as we've described before, is because your Yetzer Tov is very underdeveloped. You've not done much muscle for the Yetzer Tov. Yetzer Hara is flying. He's doing really well. In fact, you've got super Yetzer Hara. You're charged. And as we've said before on many occasions, because the Yetzer Hara has a particular love for a teenager. If I get you at this age, I've got you for life. By the way, that works the other way. If the Yetzer Tov says, I get you now, I basically got you for life as well. Meaning, which track are you on? Of course there's ups and downs, but which is your direction? That's defined by these years. So there is Sheva Yipol Tzadik V'Kom, which doesn't just mean 7, it means 7 times 7 times 7. Yeah, there's ups and downs, that's normal. And there is leniencies, you have to understand that. But don't use it as a Yetzer Hara that, therefore I should sin. Use it as a way of picking yourself up and going weiter. Moving on. If a person sins and he fails, the most important part of failing is to say, okay, that was, you do tshuva, I'm sorry about it, I regret it. You've got to start thinking about how to regret it. That was stupid. What am I doing? It's not good for me. But then move on. Move on means move on. Move. Don't just say, okay, till the next time. No, make a plan. Think about something. Make a little plan. You've got a brain. Think about how would attack you. That's why often the best thing, you come to me and you say to me, I've got a problem, and this you can do to yourself. I've got a problem with whatever it is. Yeah, this is what my problem is. So I'll say to you, well, what do you think you should say to yourself? Knowing you know yourself quite well, right? What would you say to yourself? Now the reason why I say that way is because the Nefesh HaChaim writes in Ruach Chaim on Pirkei Avos. What does the Mishnah say? Mar be'etza, mar be'tevuna. The more advice you get, the more wisdom you have. But the Nefesh HaChaim says something brilliant, so important. He says, it's not that you go around asking someone else, what should I do? So that he can make the decision. You ask someone else so that you're now wiser. But who makes the decision? You. Because you're the best person to make the decision. Now this is very crucial. Because nowadays we say, I just want to go to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe's going to say, this is what you should do. I'm done. The Rebbe said, I can follow. It's a wonderful thing to go to a Rebbe, But don't use that as an excuse to not use your own bechira. Meaning to say, you know the best person to decide on any issue. The best person is you. You are the best person to decide about yourself. The reason why you go to others, you go to Gedolei Yisrael, you go to others, is marba itza, marba tevuna. So you'll be wiser. You'll understand more. You'll know what the results of going in this direction or that direction. But ultimately, who's the best person to decide about your life? You. That's very important. That's a nefesh hachaim. It's not my vote. It's a nefesh hachaim, but it's important. Don't hide behind other people. Well, he told me to do it. Very often, you ask a Rav, you might not have even given him all the information. He could only give you an answer according to what you've said, and you didn't even tell him exactly. Oh, I forgot that major piece of information that many years ago this happened, and he doesn't necessarily know all that. He'll give you an answer according to what you've said. I'm not talking about halachic shaylas. That's a different story. Halachic shayla is a question, you're in halacha, you ask, you have an answer, fine. I'm talking about eitzah. Eitzah means, the word eitzah is a very interesting thing. Eitzah means advice. Eitzah, the Gemara says, klayos yoyatzos. Your kidneys give you advice. That's what it says. Now, what does that mean? Your kidneys give you advice? It means that advice comes from a place that is the shirish, the roots of the next generation. Can't go into detail, but the point is, you're not using the same faculty. When you think about how to make a decision in your life, you're not using the same brain as 1 and 1 is 2. That's just a fact. You just got to work out the maths equation. It's not a mathematical equation. Life issues are not mathematical equations, and therefore they're quite difficult, because there is no necessarily right or wrong answer. The person has to know how to answer it, so you've got to know how to answer it. Don't hide behind someone else. You definitely should go to other people to seek advice. Marba Eitza, Marba Tevuna, you'll have more understanding, but ultimately you've got to make that decision yourself. So yes, Hashem knows that you, who are the one that has to make the decision, He knows that you're going to make mistakes, because you're underdeveloped. You're not so good at this, thing. Your body is much louder than your brain. Sorry to say it, perhaps in a bit of a condescending way, but it's just the reality of who we are. Your body speaks louder than your brain. You might have a very good brain, something to do with intelligence. You might be brilliant. You might be able to do read a book with a photographic memory. That's not going to make a difference in your life when you're given a challenge. The guy who's got a photographic memory is not going to pass his nisyonos more easily than the guy that can't remember anything. It's no different. It's not in that world. It's not about intelligence. The genius, the thick head, they're both in the same boat together when it comes to nisyonos, right? And therefore, you have to realize, you have to train yourself. It's like working out. You have to train yourself, and everybody knows the famous Rav Dessler, Nukudas HaBechira. You train yourself. For every success, you just build your muscle a bit more. Oh, another muscle. You build your muscle more, you're doing better. Unfortunately, for every failure, you're slipping in the other direction. So that's why, but don't give up. We don't say, oh, I failed, that's it, I'm all over. That's the Atari again. Don't give rubbish, it's nonsense. It doesn't make any sense. A guy says, I failed once, I might as well just now, go off the derech. What's the point? How does that make sense? But again, it's nothing to do with logic. None of this is to do with logic. It's to do with how the Atari presents himself, which is, are you going to be moving in the up direction, or are you going to be moving in the downwards direction? And even if you slip, get up and start punching again. So yes, the answer to this question is Hashem knows about struggles, and He understands that there are issues, and He's very well aware of that, and therefore He's much more forgiving. But that's why you've got to work hard now. Get it right now. When you get to 20, Hashem says, look, enough already. What's my raya, by the way? Jewish people in the Midbar. Jewish people in the Midbar is a great raya. When we complain, when we come out of Mitzrayim, Klal Yisrael complain, don't have water, don't have anything to eat, nothing bad seems to happen. Hashem says, okay, fine, said I hear, yeah, throw some stick in the water, and it'll taste sweet, Pashas B'Shalach, right? You don't have water, yeah, fine. You don't have any food, here comes the mon, it's okay. But in Bamidbar, when they're still complaining, now Hashem says, now you're still complaining? That's too much. At the beginning, it's fine, complain, we get it, you're not mature enough. That's okay, complaining. But don't be complaining in Pashas Bamidbar. Don't be complaining back in Balaischa. There they complain, we don't have any food. Oh, you don't have any food. You still want meat. Oh, the Slav's going to come and everybody dies. And Kiva said, Taiva. There's time to grow up. So yeah, you're in the in-between stage. Hashem says, okay, it's okay. It's okay if you fail, but you've got to move into the place where you're going to try to succeed on an ongoing basis. Okay, next. Okay, we're on question 3 only. Secular subjects. Hard question. Hard question, loaded question. Also depends on who you're speaking to. That's why it's also a hard question. How seriously do you have to take secular subjects? It's a good question. It's great that I don't teach in the school, so I can say what I like, really. But I think it's important to understand 2 levels here. There are 2 approaches to this, and they're both... Okay, there are 2 approaches. I won't comment about it. I won't conclude. One approach is that any secular studies that you learn is exactly that. It's secular. Now, and therefore it's gonna bring you down. You're wasting your time. You could be learning Torah. That's always true. You could be learning Torah. That's true. However, you also have to then remember, what do we mean by secular studies? Let's think about it a second. I think we have to be machalik, and let's just speak practical. There's a big difference, and that's why it bothers me a little bit in the school system that we're in. Now, like if you learn about Aztec history, that's like pretty much a waste of time. It's not completely a waste of time, but pretty close to being a total waste of time, because it's not like essential. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why, because that's part of the government system. But so you learn about these ridiculous things. There's so much of history that is so applicable to learning about Klal Yisrael and the history of the Goddess. It's very important to learn about the Romans and about Greece and about why, because if you understand what Rome is about and what Greece is about, so you understand what did Klal Yisrael go through in this Goddess. These are Goliaths. So actually, there's a lot to be learned from that. You have to know the backdrop of history. There's so much history that we could be learning that is just like so profound and so important. Why are we wasting our time on Aztec history? But that doesn't do that. It's just to do with the system. So you have to differentiate also between what is the secular studies we're talking about. If you're talking about geography, if you're talking about maths, if you're talking about physics, chemistry, all of this. I don't know why. One second, hold on for English a second. Is that secular, or isn't that Hashem's world as well? Is mathematics secular? Klapei Torah, it's secular, but you have to know maths. It's a chokhmah of the world. So the advanced answer to this question that most people don't really chap, it's a bit too advanced. And it's too grey, it's too subtle. The advanced answer is, if you really appreciated the Rebbeinu Shalom's world, you would be fascinated by everything. By physics, by chemistry, by maths. You would be fascinated. It's chokhmah. It's not chokhmah of the goyim. That's a mistake. It's not chokhmah b'goyim, tamin. Maths is not chokhmah b'goyim. It's Hashem's world. What are you talking about? Who invented? It's not like this is the reality that we live in. Physics is not chokhmah of the goyim. It's not chokhmah of the goyim. It's Hashem's chokhmah. It's just not chokhmas haTorah of. But it should bring you close to Hashem. That's what the Rambam describes. If you're misbeinin in the Bria, you become closer to Hashem. But that's like way off. That's like talking about tzaddik level. The Vilna Gaon used to make a siyum, I think every year, on kol ha-chochmos kulam. You hear what I just said? Kol ha-chochmos kulam. All wisdom. I have no idea what that means exactly. All wisdom. That means Torah, every of course Torah, but meaning he understood, he knew maths because that's chochmas habayra. It's the bria, and if you don't have that, then you're missing something in your havana of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's true, but it requires quite a very high level to be someone where you walk out of your chemistry class and you're like, wow, my Shemona Esrei now is going to be a different Shemona Esrei, right? You've got to be on a different level of that. The Vilna Gaon, I can tell you now, his Shemona Esrei was on a different level after that. He was like misbeinin on that. Whoa, yeah, enoch. But for most of us, it's like, here we go again. I can't even remember, is it this, that? It has no shaykhs in our brain to do anything Torah-dik. So, the Emissary Answer is that all of it is chokhmas habayra. Now again, I don't mean irrelevant stuff. I don't need to learn about, entertainment. If that's like, secular studies is learning about how, how the Premier League operates. That's like... that might be interesting to some people, but it's not. That's not teaching about chokhmas habayra. I'm talking about things that are obviously Hashem's world: geography, history, physics, chemistry, maths. All right. So English is a different story. English is a different department. English is again, but that's not. That's someone else made up these words, etc. But English is very useful. So that it sounds simple. If you want to If you want to write articles, you want to write in English. There's a big market out there for writing in English, but you have to know how to write. So again, are you using it for a way that's going to be the man HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Then it's a wonderful thing. Then the next question is, but if I've only got a limited amount of time, should I be investing my time in maths, chemistry, physics, and science, or learning Shoshem Sapara? That's a much harder question to answer, because how could you compare? There's nothing to compare. A Gemara is going to be much more Kaddish. It's much more important than learning secular studies. So this has become a debate throughout the ages. What do you do? What do you do? In other words, I'm talking about the real B'nai Torah. I'm talking about even the different shittos which are throughout history. You've got Chasam Sofer, you've got Rav Hirsch. They all obviously say that Torah is the Ikka. If they don't say Torah is the Ikka, we don't even listen to them. That's like, forget about it, right? Torah is for sure the Ikka. The question is, how much do you give of secular studies, which is going to also give people, there you had a debate. Is it simply just give them the tools how to survive, making money? I mean that seriously. I mean parnasa, giving people a business, giving people the ability to be able to interact in society so they can have parnasa, they can write, they can read. So you give them the basics, and then that's it, right? Afterwards, just immerse yourself in Torah. Or do you give them a bit more so that they have the chokhmas habayre aspect much more? But again, it's so profound, and even though those people who espoused that philosophy, they really did believe the world was, that's how you're supposed to look at the world. You're supposed to be fascinated by Hashem's world. I think for most people, they don't see it that way. And most people, it's like, but should I open a Gemara, or should I do this? Now, you also then have to ask yourself, where are you? Hashem has put you in this world, with this family, in this time in history, where you are right now. So that's also, yesh b'zeh mashu, as they say. There is something in that this is where you are now. Should you specifically get up now and join a yeshiva in Stamford Hill? That's not necessarily where you're holding. And that's okay. Hashem put you in this place and put them in that place. Should they come into Hasmonean? No. Should you go to Satmar, in Stamford Hill? Probably not either, right? Meaning to say, you have to know at which stage you're at. There's a reason for that, because Baruch Hu puts each person in his place. That doesn't mean, this is what Hashem wants me. He put me in a Catholic school, I guess I've got to be Catholic. Obviously not, right? You have to work out. I don't mean that. I mean sometimes you have to work out where you are and how you deal with that situation. Yeah, sorry, you were asking.
No, a few years ago, but there was a video going around, and it was also going around a few days ago. Amazing videos, like 2.5 minutes of that NASA did a thing with the moon. They used like the sunbeams to see how many times the Earth rotates and how long or something. And they, after years and years of research, they found out to like 7 decimal places how long it takes. Yeah. And they found that in the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, Rabbi Gamliel said exactly the same amount with like that many decimal places.
Yeah, that we're not surprised about. That we know. Shmuel said he knew the pathways of Nahadah. He knew the stars of the galaxy better than he knew the streets of Nahadah, which is where he lived. Anybody who has Torah knows that. Rav Moshe Feinstein used to say he knew the inside of an animal better than he knew the inside of his apartment. Right? Because he was because you need to know these certain things in order to, and not just that, you have a special siyata d'shmaya. It was well known in the Chazon Ish. He had an unbelievable siyata d'shmaya he actually gave us a famous diagram where he gave of a specific brain surgery that the doctors were arguing about. They asked the Chazon Ish, he said do it like this, and they were like amazed. And mamash, it was matzliach. Yeah, because you get a special siyata d'shmaya, which is, by the way, the other level of saying you don't need to immerse yourself in anything like that. If you immerse yourself in Torah, you'll get the siyata d'shmaya to have all of that as well. Okay, that's a high level. Everything is contained in Torah. There's no question about that. But the question is, where do do you also have to incorporate some other things in that as well? So it's a big debate about how much secular studies. The ikka has got to be your Torah learning. That's always got to be the ikka. And you're only learning that in as much as it's either going to help you in your Torah, or it's going to help you in Parnasa, or it's going to help you have an appreciation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's world. Okay? That's the other reasons to have that. Okay, we're only 4 questions in. Quick, let's just finish off. Okay, we'll have to do some questions for next week, Be'ez Hashem, but Karbonos. Why does Hashem need our Karbonos? That's a great question, that. Karbonos, we don't normally get asked that in a teenage question and answer session, but it's great. Karbonos are something which is amazing. Most people think of Karbonos. Who has a clue of Karbonos? Karbonos are so geschmack. First, I just wanted to tell you, before we get to the actual Korban part, learning Kodshim is like phenomenal. It's amazing. It's absolutely phenomenal. You think, I can't understand a word. It's like, the most boring thing ever. It's brilliant. It's genius, genius. It's like geschmack. You go through the Gemaras, you see how every nuance in the posuk, this korban and that korban, how it works and how it comes together. It is a whole world in and of itself, which is something which is just locked in, lomdus and juicy stuff. It's all working there in Kodshim. It's not something you should be scared of. It's just like you don't know about it, so you just get scared of it. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful and it's amazing. What about korbanos for us? How do we relate to korbanos? So I think the idea of korban you have to see is everything that we do in this world is a moshel, we've spoken about before, for something else. When you have a korban, the Ramban says, korban is a moshel. A moshel for what? That you have to see that this animal that I'm now doing video on, really I didn't have Aveira, I'm bringing korban chatos, I deserve to die. And now I'm bringing this animal, and I'm putting my hands on the animal, I'm doing vidui, and then we're going to shecht it, and off it goes. So really it should be me. Now you might say, well, why didn't I just think that? I'll just do it, I'll think through the process. Come on, if you take an animal, and you see that this thing's supposed to, hey, that's supposed to be you. Ah! Really? Me? I'm gone? Wow. So it makes a real impression. In other words, physical things make a real impression on us. And so it was for korbanos. We're elevating these animals. It's a whole world in and of itself. We can't do korbanos on one foot. But it's somebody who's a sinner, he brings a korban, he can be elevated to a new level. But every level is there in korban. You have korban of mayim, nisramayim. You have korbanos, which is flour. That's a different part of the bria. Right? You have animals. You have all the chalokim of the bria. You even have music in the Beis Hamikdash. Everything that exists in the world, we mamish bring it together and we offer up to Kodesh Baruch Hu. It means we show that we bring the whole world together. So korbanos is a whole amazing story that we can't do a regal achas, but we just did. Now the next one was okay, that's a bigger discussion as well. Let's just end with that one because okay, we'll have to do it next time. But okay, next time we'll have to start with Ein Apotropos L'Arayos. What that means exactly. Okay, we've run out of time because the other questions need much more time. Okay, shkach everyone. Okay.